This podcast is supported by patrons. You can find a full list of them in the description of this episode. Hello, good morning, my listeners. Good morning, listeners of Good Morning BSS World podcast. Today I am connecting Poland with Ukraine, and my special guest is Konstantin Vasyuk from IT Ukraine Association. Hello, Konstantin.
Hi, Wiktor.
It is so nice to see you here after a long break, because it's been a while since we met recently.
Yes, exactly. But time flies.
Time flies. Yeah, that's very much true. Konstantin, I guess that everybody in the world knows what is happening now in Ukraine, but something what needs to be continued is a business. You are in front of IT Ukraine Association, which is the biggest, the largest organization, which is very much focused on the growth of the Ukraine of IT in Ukraine. So maybe let's just to remind our listeners and viewers just few words about who IT Ukraine is.
Surely, IT Ukraine Association was founded 18 years ago, and the main goal was our main goal was to support the development and growth of for that time let's say very young industry, tech industry in Ukraine. And this essential growth for these years, we have reached targets like billions of dollars of export. We are employing now more than 300,000 people. IT talents. And as IT Association, it's a platform which unites IT companies, tech companies, product, service, startups on the basic things that this is the new economy industry, and our members employ more than 85,000 people in development centers in Ukraine. It's only Ukraine, and these companies generally they're global and they're working on the global market, so they employ thousands, hundreds of thousands of people globally. But in Ukraine you see this growth, which was especially before the war. The growth was about 25-35% per year to year. And IT Ukraine is the most well-known and representative body of tech industry in Ukraine. So we're growing during the war. We will speak about this. Maybe you will have some questions regarding this, how the industry grows. Exactly, we are representatives of this tech industry, of new economy.
Yeah, thank you for this start of our talk. Just for our viewers and listeners, a few information from my side that we have touched each other over the LinkedIn just a few weeks ago, and we decided to have some kind of a wrap-ups of what is happening in Ukrainian IT world on a monthly basis. So, dear listeners, dear viewers, you can expect more of such talks as we will provide you today. But now we are just after entering a new year, 2023. So not only the month of December is behind us, but there is the whole year 2022 behind us. And as our target is to focus a little bit on this, what is happening in the IT world in Ukraine, maybe if you could just wrap up, Konstantin, how was 2022 for the IT industry in Ukraine?
So that's why we maybe started 2 years ago. We have started our new product, the yearly survey, which is already published here in 2022. And the name of this survey, Do IT Like Ukraine. It's not occasional, because we want to bring a message that IT in Ukraine is still working, still growing. And before the war, the national IT industry became one of the largest exporters of IT services in Europe. And as I already mentioned, grew by 25-30% annually. It's huge, it's impressive figures. And that's why, and so we generated more than 4% of Ukraine's GDP. That's figures before the war. And exactly, the war started a new countdown, of course, for every one, let's say, for every person and for every businesses as well. So, and our industry was affected as well. And by the way, we have been affected, but we have been prepared well for this scenario, and that's why maybe the figures which speaks them by themselves. It's I mean about $7 billion export this war year during the war, and its growth mark of 10% compared to the previous year. Isn't it impressive? Yes, and I think this is good example how we can be, let's say, adaptive, flexible, resilient to these occasions. And by the way, our forecast, we will see maybe in 1 month, the summer of the year, official open data statistics. We have forecasted $7.1 billion of export and 2% growth of export relatively previous year. Of course, we should admit that it's comparison with two uncomparable years, the year with normal growth and huge growth, and the year of the war. So that's why, I mean, we have met numerous challenges, a lot of them, but we have passed most of them. And finally now, when the year was closing, like closing year, we were just calculating data and preparing this report. We wanted and we decided to emphasize on the main things about our country, not about our industry, but about our country, about our people. And of course, we are proud of that we have done and we have achieved on the face of this huge challenges for business. But business is growing, business is developing, people are being educating, people moving even to other countries, relocating to other countries. They're just paying their role in this victory. They support army, they transfer costs, they participate in other projects. But we will speak about this. I mean, generally, if speaking, what is the industry before and after? I would say that industry is not dramatically changed. It's become dramatically resilient. I would say.
Okay, so I have read your report, to be honest. So it's a great publication, and I don't think there is no other country in Europe who summarizes in this kind of a scope all data related to the IT industry within that country. There is a lot of data, a lot of graphs, a lot of comparisons year to a year. This year, you have added this business migration between Ukraine and other countries. Can you say a few words about that?
Exactly, and thank you for such a feedback. And I also I've seen your post on your Facebook, on LinkedIn, regarding this slide exactly, because it's quite it's quite, how to say, reasonable why such configuration of relocation we have, and have we done, because for example, Poland is of course number one for in terms of relocation people. A lot of things, and by the way, now Poland is still growing in terms of people who just changing the locations even after first wave of relocation. Again, Poland attracts people. But if you look at these graphs and maps, I think we understand that first of all, it's neighboring countries. It's countries with a similar culture, with culture similarity, with historical ties and business ties, business ethics and business processes we know well. And a lot of companies just extended their presence by extending their offices, already having their offices in Poland, for example. But still, I think we should understand that the main question is for us not the current situation with the relocation, and more important, I think, for businesses, for people, the forecast, let's say, or perception how it will go after, let's say, half a year, 1 year after the victory, yeah, as soon as we got everything solved or settled, how fast people will change their location. And I think this is the main challenge, because we suppose that about up to 25-30% of people will consider whether they will return back or not. It's our like estimation. I mean, only in case, I should say, only not today, if it will be 1 year or 2 years period. This is quite essential things. And maybe this is main conclusion, which we have current configuration shows the first stage of relocation. And
Yeah,
it's not the final.
I can imagine that now this is only estimations, because this is not every month, but every day can bring us completely different view of this, what is happening. But what I wanted to ask you also is, according to these numbers which you are sharing, this export which IT industry is generating from year to year, it's growing. So it means that there is still a global trust in the service delivery from your international clients, yeah, who are using companies from Ukraine. Do you have any your observations how this, let's say, portfolio of clients or markets have changed within the last months in their relations with the Ukrainian IT companies?
So, I mean, of course, IT market is growing, but we have a lot of things which can have a negative impact, and the customers. So, I mean, generally, when we speak about possible world recession, global recession, yeah, which is being expected or maybe has been started, we don't know exactly, but customers, I would like to say that our industry now, like tech industry, like companies, implementing their business continuity plans, dealing with these blackouts, because mostly, I would like to say, in the report you saw as well, these figures, we have exactly have been prepared for this, or maybe exactly, like say, updated our capacities not to be affected by these blackouts almost at all. I see no effect, just partially, maybe 1 year, 1 hour, 2 hours, but not one day. And now, even supermarkets in Ukraine, even small shops, they're all working. They're resilient totally. They work. They have small generators and Starlinks, and they are working. What should say about IT companies? It was done before, even before. So, but I mean that we have passed this, let's say, kind of exam, like stress test again, second stress test after this missile attacks and infrastructure degrades. Yeah, but what now? I think we're at the stage when our customers somehow should pass this stress test for themselves, because exactly they have, I know, the checklists and this analysis of possible risk, and they exist. These risks are existing, but again, we do almost 100% plus efforts to avoid this risk for our customer. The next is out of our, let's say, how to say, the customers should decide whether they're ready to continue work or not. And this is exactly solution of the customers. But we do a lot, not only putting generators, Starlinks, we have the most important thing, we have open communications, and we are sharing constantly the with our customers the updates regarding what is going on, what measures has been taken, what are the forecasts, what is the information coming and out. So, I mean, generally, it looks like a partnership with understanding of possible consequences of this solution, of decision, and maybe this some of customers should take the decisions which is not quite good for us. I mean, but most of them, let's say, at least now, still keeping working and supporting us by continuing contracts, by placing orders here.
I have noticed that there are many examples of companies who work with those Ukrainian businesses who are very international, so who are
Yeah.
present in Ukraine in various locations around the country, but already have some kind of, let's say, units or branches which are located either in Bulgaria or Poland or Lithuania or Germany or some other countries. I guess that this is bringing some kind of a trust that if there is an international presence of such business, it is easier to be, let's say, comfortable with working with this kind of a companies.
Victor, exactly. This we call distributed offices uh, policy, and distributed offices, distributed projects, and risk management, because most key people are mostly outside Ukraine now, because they've been relocated even before the war, you know. A lot of, even the project which has been like ongoing, they have changed the configuration of the teams, the way to be most secure for the customers on their own demands. Yeah, because each project has own demands regarding security. But general security is to make people safe, to keep people in safe place, and provide them access to the infrastructure in order to perform their daily job. And the I think the main answers we have got for this now, it's only exactly, you're absolutely right. A lot of companies have offices, already had offices before the war, but now I know one of our members, they have 9 offices in Poland now. 9 offices.
9.
9.
Probably
It's
there are even more than some of the Polish software houses have.
yes, exactly. But again, when I'm speaking about this, so okay, 9 offices, but you should hire people as well from these markets, from very overheated, let's say. But again, in Ukraine, we have balance now, just a lot of, so the demand and supply changes now in Ukrainian market. But anyway, we have huge pool of talents. So, I mean, we remain one of the largest pools of talents in Europe.
Yeah, I know very well that Ukraine was always considered as one of the largest talent pool source when it comes to the IT, let's say, developed people or educated people, and this is not changing. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
say that on the Polish market, we've got a lot of Ukrainians who have came here and who work in businesses of various nationalities, but they came actually in the recent years to provide IT services. One question about the nature of a business. I know the pandemics 2 years ago, and you are now challenging also the area of the war. So I assume that most of the IT business is working in the hybrid model or in the remote model. Rather, you are not working in a, let's say, big offices somewhere in the city centers, but rather it is hybrid remote model, isn't it?
No, is exactly so. If we just make a snapshot of the current, let's say, the situation before the war, it looked like about 30% of people just were willing to come back to offices, and companies started to implement this approach, and because people so want to communicate, to have network, socialize, and everything. Yeah, it's important. Still, a lot of people just were equipped they equipped their own homes for the best performance they could have, and they have equipped with some monitors, equipment, special furniture, and again, with the help of the companies. I mean, during the COVID era, and so they now again have advantages. They have everything's equipped, but yes, it was a trend to moving back to offices. Still, now we have even let's say during this winter, it's like a mixture, hybrid model, but mostly now offices are full of people, and people came back because they have uninterruptible power supplies, internet connection, heating, everything in exactly in offices for 100%, because company provided these services. And so even with pets, even with some but yeah, you're allowed to come to offices because, and during winter time, I think summertime will change again this picture because the main reason to be in office to have all 100% to be agree to be um, sure that you can be in the workflow and not just disconnected or just frozen. but but again, IT people bought a lot of stuff like generators, power stations like EcoFlow, like these brands, yeah, which provides some 5-6 hours supply during electricity switching off. And this so we again have shown our so how can we resilient and flexible and adaptive to these circumstances. We are not afraid of the dark, of the cold, and we have Starlink for 100 megabit internet in each house almost now. So I mean, yes, hybrid model, but with a more like oriented to the office work now for winter time.
That's nice to hear. In Poland,
And
most of
shelters as well because office usually equipped are closer to the shelters because
okay,
you need sometimes
that's
during
important.
this. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's important. But it's good to hear that people come back to the office, even though in this kind of circumstances. In Poland, most of people prefer to work from home.
But I
So
know in Poland they obliged to at least 2 times appear 2 times in a week. Yeah,
it
in the office.
depends. It depends company by company. It differs very much, but there are plenty of people who prefer to stay at remote work. I can understand that. Yeah, absolutely. But because the pandemic proved that it works, so that service can be delivered. Yeah, of course, with these pluses and concerns of this whole situation. But anyway, let's take a look on 2022. And the IT world in Ukraine from your perspective. What kind of IT services were in the biggest demand? Yeah, so you could observe that those were the types of services being provided by companies in Ukraine. Is it possible to get a list of some kind of a groups of services which were in the biggest demand?
So I mean, generally, as we we recently we have returned from the roadshow from London, and during our booths we have attended 3 conferences in a row. In during some when we contacted people and customers, so they asked, do you have expertise in this? Yes, and this, yeah, almost this. Yes, and this area is also quite you're quite good in this. Yes, exactly. So that's why we like integrating every expertise in it, and I mean our members, and not only our members, so generally Ukrainian IT and tech industry, we cover all the areas which is growing now on the global market. We cover all needed. I think I think we got everything, but mainly, of course, it's fintech, healthcare, and so logistics, automotive, of course, AI, amended reality, artificial intelligence areas, blockchain as well. But mostly, it's the services and technologies which support the most developed areas and businesses in global economy. And what is needed now, we can cover and we can provide this expertise on the level of the companies, on the level of the personalities and experts, IT experts. I mean, maybe generally it's like standard picture. It's not quite different from the previous years. It's like normal systematic growth of the main technologies. And what may be added, what has been added to this, it's military tech by no means. We have huge, huge leap ahead on these military tech issues, and lots of projects are now hundreds of projects, not only on the MVP stage, but on the performing equipment, software on the front line, and not testing, but working there, not just trying to make some, let's say, MVP and test, but improving already existing projects even. And the terms of the research dramatically shrinking. You know, we have 1-2 months and we have a new product. We have a prototype. We have a machine gun, automatic machine gun, autonomous. Or we have some special drone which can bring 80 kilograms and we can bring people out of the fire, you know?
By drone.
By drone, people, yeah. And in other examples, you know, and this is quite impressive, and I think it will bring us a good chance to be somehow like trendsetters even in this, because unfortunately we have this situation with war. We should, but we realize this opportunity like as opportunity, not like only crisis and barbaric war which we have. We on the way to our victory, we realized a lot of technical projects. Some of them, of course, cannot be like announced now, but
Yeah, I can imagine.
we know a lot of very good creative solutions, technical, very high technically, let's say, realized.
Yeah,
And IT party and IT party.
I can imagine that the war actually creates opportunities for developing the support of the IT industry to, first of all, military units, secondly, to probably medical and pharma, and thirdly, to the local governments when it comes to the communication with the local citizens and so on and so on. So I believe everywhere over there is present the Ukrainian IT sector.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that our people, our IT people, they invest their time and money into these projects. And first of all, they try to realize the most, how to say, the most important and urgent things. But later it goes like it becomes a project, and it goes like systematic, and they find investors or partners, and they grow up this like a project which can be after the war can be shared to the other countries, because unfortunately the wars in our crazy world so is not stopping. They are always ongoing somewhere, and our expertise and our experience in this can be shared to other countries to defend their own people, to defend lives of their own citizens. And Ukraine can be very essential player subject on this.
One question for the very end of our talk, the logistic one. Let's assume there is a business who would like to start working with the Ukrainian based company, IT company. Do you think that the best way to start this kind of a cooperation or relationship would be like an online talk, or a visit in Ukraine, or visit of Ukrainian company at the space when the company of a potential client is located?
Mm-hmm. Victor, this is good question, because for one part of it we are still having no exact, let's say, clear answer. But I will try to explain how our vision is about this matter. First of all, when, let's say, some customer is going to start collaboration or place some orders or starting products with Ukrainian-based companies, they will definitely can find, probability is very high, can find the representative office outside Ukraine. It's first. So in this exactly practically it can be like this. If you have such requests, just please put me a note about this. Yeah, give us an information. We can find the best match, and we can support, because we already done it like a union. You know, we have created this program, export union, for the companies which are working outside and entering new markets, etc. And the customers are seeking for some services. They can find this on our platform. But anyway, Ukrainian-based, it means that some people, some developers are working now from Ukraine, but it doesn't exactly mean that all the people sitting in Ukraine are working from Ukraine. So they can find their offices abroad, I mean, out of the territory of Ukraine. And second option, regarding visits, yeah, exactly. Now we have some legislation acts being discussed in the cabinet of minister, and you know, the president of Ukraine have signed the law regarding new reservation principles of the some important the people who is and companies, the people who working for the companies which are important for economics during the war. So, and we hope for good solution and the opportunity to resolve these people at least for half a year, and during this half a year they can travel to the customers. So this is the purpose of our request to the government as well, because until you see each other and have offline conversation in business, it's very important, you know. So I mean, I hope it will be solved nearest, let's say, weeks, and we can have some relief in this. Anyway, yes, of course, traveling to Ukraine is not so quite safe. Maybe I wouldn't recommend to travel just like ordinary travels. But if we see a lot of people who travel into Kiev, we have good logistic with Poland, and very fast you can get to Ukraine. So both options possible. It depends on the target of this visit. What is the aim? What do you want to just to see everything? I would say that uh, it's quite, how to say, it brings some experience to visit country during the war in more or less safe conditions, but no one can ensure that South missile will not come, unfortunately. That's why visits outside, yes, visits to Ukraine you should consider. And regarding customers, they can find representatives outside Ukraine or through association. For example, we can connect them with the right people. And some people has already been reserved, so they can travel. Some percentage of the top management, some people important in the company, they have been reserved before, so travel is also possible. And also we can travel by special decree for special terms. Like me, for example, I visited Great Britain with special permission because I'm representing Ukraine on the global market, so the government gives such permission for some 2 weeks, let's say 1 week or 3 days, whatever you need to go and represent our country. It's important. So this also possible.
So I hope to see you one day in here in Warsaw, where I am based, so we could have a talk face to face, not only via this perfect internet connectivity which we are using at the moment. Konstantin, I will make sure actually to add the link to your profile of a LinkedIn to the description of our today's episode, because maybe there will be some people or some companies who would like to get more familiar with this, what is happening now in IT world in Ukraine, and perhaps this can be supportive for them. But
Of
for
course,
today,
thank you.
I guess that we will put a full stop, because as we said in the very beginning of our talk, that we are going to come back to those talks and update people of what's going on in Ukrainians IT world on a monthly basis or a couple of weeks space basis. So thank you for today, and I look very much forward to see you in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Victor. Anytime.
Thanks.